An Oak Cliff woman who braids hair for a living was arrested this week for practicing her craft without a license. Her case received national publicity 2 years ago, prompting the state to change the law on hair braiding. But the woman who calls herself ISIS says the new law is not much better. Channel 8's Gary Reeves reports.
The quiet calm of this hair braiding studio was shattered Monday when 2 state inspectors, 2 plainclothes constables, and 4 more in uniform hauled the owner off to jail in handcuffs.
I thought that I was a criminal, that I had maybe murdered or killed somebody. I mean, it was just so devastating, and I was so happy that my children didn't witness it.
This is Dana Isis Brantley apparently committing the crime again. She's braiding hair without a license. She was arrested Monday for failing to pay her fine for doing the same thing 2 years ago.
Hair braiding is in fact a part of or defined as the practice of cosmetology.
In court in 1995, the state argued she needed to take the full course required of beauticians before she could braid. But after this conviction, the state called a 2-year moratorium and changed the law to require a shorter 300-hour hair braiding and weaving course. At the State Cosmetology Commission, it's an issue of health and safety.
You have sanitation problems. Their implements that they are using to braid their hair. They can catch lice from the brush.
Isis did enroll in the 300-hour course, but says she dropped out because most of the time was spent teaching how to use chemicals and weave in fake hair, things that have nothing to do with braiding.
They have no curriculum, they have no knowledge, they have no clue to how to educate anyone in the art of braiding. This is a traditional art form.
It's an issue of over-regulation. It's a issue of the government being over-intrusive.
ISIS lawyer says the new law needs to be rewritten to require a course that simply covers health issues and braiding.
Put your hand up and hold it still.
Regulators say Brantley has opened a braiding school, and several beauty shop operators are complaining.
We've had complaints from other licensed individuals that are braiding hair, that are running beauty salons that are braiding hair. Ms. Brantley has sent out flyers.
But ISIS has no plans to stop. Her lawyer says they may sue the state to establish braiding as a civil right. Gary Reeves, Channel 8 News.
All people have one thing in common. We all want to look beautiful. And one major aspect to beauty is our hair. We want a hairstyle that's easy, inexpensive, and most of all, one that looks good. But who would ever think that a hairstyle could stand for respect? Next, you're going to meet a woman who will give you a whole new outlook on a hairstyle that's really turning heads in the 90s.
If you had known me then, I was lastingly lovely. The Sahara cornrows designed for me 5,000 years ago still grace my head today. In ancient Africa, my braids were symbolic of culture and social status. You would have known my tribe or the gods that I worship by the patterns of my braids. Back then, the hairs on my head were numbered, and you could have counted my braids, and you would have told whether I was a queen, a bride, or whatever the sum. You knew I was beautiful.
Many people who braid hair do it for fun, for the money, or just for the enjoyment. Isis, the owner of Ancestral Braiding Arts, does it because she feels braids are a matter of respect. She looks at the braiding business from a whole different perspective. She began braiding when she was only 6 years old.
Back during the time when me and my sister got started, we started braiding in the community. And in the community, you had to pass a test. And we started braiding the community's hair. And then as the older people who were expert braiders saw what we were doing, they passed us. We passed the test. So that's when I first got started, when my mother taught me, my grandmother taught my mother, and my grandmother's mother taught her. So it's like a traditional thing. I've noticed that the braids are taking a really big step. But when I started braiding in 1979, there were hardly anybody in the city of Dallas braiding. And now everybody is braiding. Braiding is so convenient now. People are wearing them to work because they don't have to get up and fuss with their hair hours before work. It's very convenient for little children. They don't have to worry about working with the child's hair in the morning. And now they're seeing the benefit of braiding and the beauty. Braiding is a very, very highly esteemed art form, and it must be treated with lots and lots of respect. So here at the braiding studio, we always let the people know that come in, that want to have braids, that your head is very sacred, and you must honor your head. And therefore, you must treat it with respect, creative ability, and wisdom. Cosmetology industry has it somewhat set up that black people were born with coarse hair, and that was a mistake, and that God made a mistake with giving us coarse, kinky, curly hair, and that beauty is blonde or straight. But we know, and I teach the children that, in fact, beauty is people of color. We are the ones that gave birth to what we call beauty, the hair. We don't just paint our nails and our toes. We dress our whole bodies up. We like to give and pay homage to the Africans who gave us this great, great art. There are many tribes in Africa who wear the braids as symbol of royalty. There's this dedicated group of women that wear the braids in this, like the Zulu tribe, and they wear the braids when they go to war. The Senegalese twist is very, very popular in America now. It's the twist where you use 2 braids rather than 3 braids. We have the Nubian crown, where the goddess, I think Queen Latifah, she wears it a lot, the goddess braids, very, very popular in the United States now. I hear the cosmetology doesn't respect braiding in cosmetology, whereas it's a part of cosmetology. But we must remember that the ancient Egyptians were the first known cosmetologists. So there are many different types of braids. There's the thread wrapping. You know, there's so many different ways that you can adorn the hair with different types of material. We have the Nefertiti braid, the Nefertari braid. We like to say Nefertari because there is a difference between Nefertiti and Nefertari. But there's so many different kinds of braid. The braid weave. The braid weave is a braid, it's a hidden braid that's braided in your hair, but you don't see the braid. I am a self-taught braid. Most braiders have the innate ability to braid. I don't recommend that you go to someone that just started braiding. Like myself, I've been braiding for 15 years. Even though I was self-taught and the energy was passed down through my ancestors, it's like someone that just gets up and can play a piano, or that has this melodic voice and can sing well. I know it was a gift for me. So there are a lot of gifted braiders out there, but you have to be very careful with people out there on the corners saying that I can braid your hair for this amount of money, and it may seem very, very inexpensive, and you try them, because inexperienced braiders can do things to damage the hair. You hear a lot of people, especially beauticians, those that are cosmetology, quote unquote, licensed beauticians, say braids take your hair out. And it's not true, but if you find an unprofessional braider to braid your hair, even a beautician could be considered an unprofessional braider. So yeah, you have to be very careful with who you choose as a braider, and it's always good to look for someone that has been in the braiding business. You can't braid, chemicalize, straighten, and everything. You got to do one thing. You know, I specialize in braiding, so my energy is focused on braid.